And I do have a question for you, and this is a question that I get asked a lot when I'm asked about my
Hope
teeth.
I know the answer.
Well, you do. Okay. So, because I've asked you, and I just couldn't remember your answer. I have a friend in Auburn who went and had his dental implants done in Auburn. A lot of these other places are doing temporaries for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell them I'm so grateful that I did not have to wear a plastic pair of temporary teeth for 6 months because they weren't comfortable. They weren't that, not like these. When you get your final zirconia on that, 5th day, 6th day, 9th day, whatever, they're totally different than your temporaries. Why? Most people are asking me, how come you do it all in one and you leave with your teeth on that last day instead of doing the temporaries for 6 months?
Why do we go to a final? So that's a pretty deep question, but we'll digest it real quick.
Okay.
There's several big reasons. Number one, in terms of the timeline of how we ended up getting into it, I'll go kind of in that order. Number one was, before, when we would do it the old way, one, you're spending a lot of money on making the temporaries for a subpar result that could potentially break apart or fall apart because it's just plastic and glued together. And that puts the implants at extreme risk. When you lose, even if you have 6 and you lose and you break your temporary, I have a lot of money into it and a lot of time personally making it, and you don't even like it that much. But then when you break it, if and when, I mean, it's like probably 30% of the time we'd have to go back in and kind of clean them up and glue them. The chance of that implant failing is very high, okay? And so not only that, when you get to the end, if your implants have healed well, you then have that set of visits to make the finished product, right? Doing it the old way. That set of visits comes with a lot of, you're now bringing your baggage of the trauma of all the time and the breakage and the not loving your teeth yet. So now you go, all right, it's my time. I'm going to get exactly what you want. And that's a time where you and the dentist are sort of a little bit butting heads. You could like them to the end of the earth, but you're kind of at odds. You want this perfect and this person's kind of worn out, right? And so it adds a lot of trauma. And I always describe it as the dark cloud in the office. So you've got this dark cloud in the office. And so you have the happy people that are your patients that are getting worked on. And then you have a full waiting room of people that are kind of getting, going through their getting their temporaries fixed, and they're kind of okay. And then you have a whole nother group of people that are trying to get finished. And you have this, basically it's just a big line of people waiting and waiting and waiting. And that's stressful on the dentist, etc.
Exactly.
So that was an initial motivation to going to a finished product. That was my business partner's initial motivation. And I will never forget, it was in mid-April of 2016, 2015, somewhere in there. We did our first case. I thought, oh my God, I am going to get shoved out of dentistry. This is the last case I'm going to end up getting touched. People are going to find out I did this, and I approved it. And this is my last time in dentistry. Like, so long, farewell, right? Yeah. This is crazy. And where I got sold was not when we first did it, because I didn't really see the patient other than for post-op. The next week when I came in for post-op, the healing that I saw, I didn't realize that this patient, because I was getting bounced between rooms. And Nadia, did you ever work with Nadia?
Oh, yeah.
So Nadia was my original surgical assistant. Nadia pulls me in a room. I give this lady all kinds of instructions, like, great, you can eat whatever you want now and all of this. And she follows me down the hall and she goes, Doc, did you use like a special implant in there or something? And I said, no, what are you talking about? She said, that was your surgery patient from last week. You just told her she can eat whatever she wants, etc. So I had her call him back. Like, we had to pull her out of the parking lot, brought her back in. I think it was a she. Brought this patient back in. And I just have to look at this. And the healing was so good underneath the final product that I had been bamboozled that I didn't even think I did surgery last week. That's how good the healing is. Because the finish on the real finished set is so amenable to reducing the amount of bacteria that can get stuck there, reducing the inflammation, improving our own contours, right? This could be a 3-hour podcast on its own.
Yeah.
But, I always liken it to, if you're doing the underside, if you look at the underside of a denture that's a temporary and you look at ours, it's a lot like the difference between duct taping a 2x4 to your broken arm versus putting a cast on it, right? The chance that you're going to need surgery on a 2x4.
That sounds like something Alan would do.
Yeah. Well,
It does.
he wouldn't be shocked in 3 months when his guy said, well, your arm's still messed up, we need to do surgery, right? That's why people that do temporary say, well, you can't do that, the gum tissue changes too much, because all they're doing is duct taping a 2x4 to the arm.
Right.
And then, no surprise, you have to fix it. If you put a cast in the very beginning, does it happen where you need surgery afterwards? Sure, in random cases, but the majority have been treated correctly, and we were the ones that put the rules and regulations. So that's the sort of gum tissue part on it.
Yes.
The other part is that when the reason why temporaries are still a big thing is because regardless of expensive or cheap or however you're going to do the temporary, the final teeth are still a pretty big expense. They still require a lot of work to get to the end, even if you have all the equipment, right?
Right.
And so if you're not doing this at volume, if you're not doing this full time, if this isn't your means and your living and if this isn't your passion for life, this isn't all you do, then, and you have an implant that goes bad during that healing phase when you just paid for that all expense, since you don't own the process and you don't own the stuff, it's more than just the cost of the teeth to do. And so now you're looking at your margins are getting screwed up because you had one fail underneath a final. So once you get to volume, let's call it 30 arches in a month. Now I have efficient costs where the chances of your implant going bad are low enough that they are better. My results are going to be better. My everything's going to be better. And so the chance that you have one that fails and I have to replace it and put a new final on still comes out. I still come out miles ahead because I have efficiency in volume and I have efficiency in that material. So your healing is going to be better. Your experience is going to be better. Your gum tissue is going to be better. But I also don't have to hold anything against you. I don't have to hold any grudges if you have one go bad and I have to replace it.
Right.
So it's like it's kind of all of that wrapped together. I know that was like way more than...
No, and I just wanted to ask the question and you give the answer, because when people talk to me about this, I've referred, I think, 4 or 5 people, and, 3 or 4 of them have come and got their teeth done. And so people really want this. And a lot of the times I get the question, why did they do it? How can he do it in such a short time when other people are having to wait? So that answers that